Good day everyone. In this video, I will be talking about university making. This is one of the topics under the group number 2. And I am Carla Joyce B. Navarrete, your discussant. In my report, I'll be talking about these three main topics. Topic number 1 will discuss about university and college difference. In topic number 2, I will be talking about the classification of university. And the last topic, topic 3, is all about the grant or retain of university status. Before I actually move on to the content of my report, let me give you a brief introduction. This logo is all familiar to us. This is the logo of Commission on Higher Education, or commonly known as CHED. CHED is an agency which administers and regulates the higher education offering institutions. Therefore, it is also the agency that grants the university status to a certain higher education institution. Let us define first university. According to Britannica Encyclopedia, a university is an institution of higher education. So number 1, you would find here programs that may lead you to attainment of college degrees. 2, it is comprised of College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So you would find here, or you would study here, different disciplines. Okay, different disciplines of which might include philosophy, sociology, and others. Lastly, Britannica Encyclopedia defined university as a graduate and professional schools. Therefore, university is an institution that does not only offer college degrees but also master's degrees and doctorate degrees. Now, let us have topic 1, the university and college difference. What is the difference between these two, since they are both higher education institutions? College and university. What is the difference? When we say college, it is focused on undergraduate education. So that's why it is focused on the attainment of college degree or bachelor's degree. Aside from bachelor's degree, it is also offering associate degree or yung mga 2-year course in some courses that can be ladderized. Like for example, 2-year course in information technology that can be ladderized into bachelor's degree in information technology. Okay, so that is what a college is. When we say university, it is comprised or composed of smaller units which is called colleges. Like for example, the PUP or Polytechnic University of the Philippines. This consisted of College of Education, College of Engineering, and others. Aside from this, a university has a broader curriculum because it has much more offerings than a college. And aside from that, it also offers undergraduate education. So in a university, you can also attain college degrees. But aside from undergraduate education, you can also attain graduate and professional degrees. Graduate and professional degrees such as master's degrees and doctorate degrees. So that is the difference between university and a college. So number 2. My topic number 2 will be talking about the classification of university, since my main topic is university making. When it comes to the classification of university, we have two. The first one, a university could be public, meaning it is owned by the government or run or funded by the government. And it could also be private, meaning it is run by a corporation or an individual. Another classification of a university is that it could be sectarian, meaning it is run or funded by a religious group, or it has connection with a religious group. And when we say non-sectarian, it has no any involvement to our religious group. So that is how we classify universities. Now, let us talk about public university. A public university is usually non-sectarian. It is not being run by religious group. Another is that it is classified into two. Public university has two types. It could be an SUC or State University and College, and we have the LCU or local colleges and university. State University and Colleges or SUCs. It is one of the classifications of a public university. One characteristic of an SUC is that it is created by an act. There is a legal basis before it is given a university status. Like for example, the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. The Polytechnic University of the Philippines had its university status in 1978 through Presidential Decree 1341. And through this Presidential Decree, therefore, we had the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. It was proclaimed by President Ferdinand E. Marcos through Proclamation number 1081. Another characteristic by a state university and college or SUC is that it is fully subsidized by the government. So all state universities and colleges are subsidized or funded by the government. Like for example, the University of the Philippines. The University of the Philippines is known as the National University. And because of its status of being a national university, it has the largest chunk of fund when it comes to the higher education institutions, specifically SUCs. And because of Republic Act 9500 or the Act of Strengthening University of the Philippines as the national university, it has the largest fund. The local colleges and universities or LCUs. This is another type of public university. So what is the difference of LCU from the SUC? An LCU is established through local government ordinance. Take note, local government ordinance. Like for example, the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila. Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila is the first and largest local university in Manila. And it has its status because of Ordinance number 4202 in 1960. In 1960, which is approved by Mayor Arsenio S. Lacson. Mayor Arsenio S. Lacson is the first elective mayor of Manila way back in 1951. So that is all for the public university, which is further classified into SUCs and LCUs. Now, let us have the private university. A private university can also be classified into two. The first one is non-sectarian. A non-sectarian private university or private HEI is not being run, not being funded by a religious group. Like for example, the Centro Escolar University and Far Eastern University, the AMA Computer College, and STI College. They are well-known private schools here or private universities and HEIs here in the Philippines. And they are all non-sectarian. So these kinds of universities register themselves on the Securities and Exchange Commission as a corporation. Then we also have the sectarian, meaning they have involvement with religious groups. They are being funded and administered by religious groups, such as Ateneo de Manila University and New Era University. Ateneo de Manila University is being run by Jesuits, while the New Era University is being run by the Iglesia ni Cristo. Now, I am down to my third topic, and my third topic is all about the grant or retain of university status. How do this higher education institution have their university status? So that is what we're going to discuss in this part of my report. The university status. Because of the provisions of Republic Act 7722 or the Higher Education Act of 1994, the Commission on Higher Education issued the CHED Memorandum Order Number 48 Series of 1996. In this memorandum order, you can find or you can read the different guidelines and standards for an HEI or higher education institution to be granted a university status. It is because university is a distinctive honor and it shall only be given to HEIs who deserves it. The grant of university status. So in this part of the video, I'll be talking about the different guidelines or standards set in the CHED Memorandum Order Number 48 Series of 1996 for an HEI to be granted of the university status. So as you could see in this part of the video, we have their degree programs. What are the particular requirements when it comes to the degree programs? For a private HEI, there should be 8 degree programs. Among these degree programs, 8 degree programs, there should be a 4-year course in the liberal arts. There should also be a 4-year course in science and mathematics and a 4-year course in social sciences. Aside from this, among these 8 degree programs, 3 of these should be leading to licensure examination. This is for private HEI. For the LCUs, for the local colleges to be granted a university status, there should be 5 degree programs. Aside from the degree programs, this CHED memorandum also state a guideline for the accreditation of an HEI to be granted of a university status. So when it comes to the accreditation, the HEI must have level 3 accreditation on 4 of its undergraduate programs and 2 of its graduate programs. Aside from the degree programs and accreditation level, this CHED Memorandum Order also specified the requirements for this standard instruction. So, the HEI's excellence will be evaluated, which is reflected on the following. First is the quality educational programs, the achievement of the students, and the licensure examination performance. That is why one of the papers being evaluated when an HEI is applying for a university status are first the result of trace studies and then the result of licensure examination showing the performance of the students, graduate students of the HEI over the last 5 years. So we already have 3. First is the degree program, the accreditation, and then the instruction. The fourth one being evaluated for the grant of university status is research. The HEI must be able to maintain high standard of research or high research standards. They should be able to present at least or 3 years of record of their research, and they should be able to provide a copy of referee journals and a report on the sources of their research funds. Another basis for the grant of university status is the extension services of the HEI. So it talks about having a credible community extension program. It involves community programs, the continuing education, and then the application of research results. It is pertaining to the activities being conducted by the institution, not only for the students but also to its faculty members, to further improve the quality of its instructions. Another basis for the grant of university status is the faculty requirements. Now, it pertains to the faculty, the set of experts who will be teaching or who are teaching in the HEI. So, in this part, the HEI has to submit a faculty profile. The faculty profile should be composed of people of the highest educational attainment with their specialization that is matching the programs to be offered by the HEI. So when it comes to the faculty profile, 20% of them should be doctoral degree holders. For example, if there are 150 faculty members, 20% of them should be doctoral degree holders, and 50% of them, of the doctoral degree holders, should be full-time. Aside from this, 35% of them, or for example, going back to 150 faculty members, 35% of them should be master's degree holders. And among these 35% master degree holders, 75% of them should be full-time. And lastly, 50% of the total faculty members should be or should specialize in the field of liberal arts and sciences. Another thing to be evaluated for the HEI to be given a university status is the site and buildings. The HEI must have its own institutional site wherein the instruction would happen, and that institutional site should be at least 5 hectares in size. Aside from this, the HEI will be submitting reports on site and buildings. And included in this one would be the campus development plan, if there will be any further plans on the improvement of the buildings and then the site. So that should be included for the evaluation of the site and buildings of an HEI who would like to have a university status. So, the last thing on the standards and guidelines for the grant of university status to an HEI under the CHED Memorandum Order number 48 series of 1996 is the library and laboratory facilities and equipment. So in this part, the HEI should be able to submit a report of the library holdings, meaning all the materials, the books, the journals that the library has, and the laboratory facilities and equipment. So once again, for an HEI to be granted of university status, there are 8 standards specified in the CMO number 48 series of 1996. All of these will be evaluated on the HEI to check if it is qualified for the university status. These are the following: the degree programs, the accreditation, instruction, faculty requirements, research, extension services, site and buildings, and the library and laboratory facilities and equipment. All of this will be subjected for review of its qualification. Aside from those things, the HEI must also submit a written application that is addressed to the chairman of the commission. And attached on this written application is the full institutional profile. According to the CHED's Citizens Charter, it is stated there that there is an application fee of 50,000 pesos for an HEI to be granted university status, and the duration of the process has a maximum of 1 year. Once an HEI has been granted of the university status, it will be subjected for review every 3 years. So the CHED will be evaluating the HEI that has been already granted a university status every 3 years against the standards and guidelines which have been stated in the CMO number 48 series of 1996 to retain its university status. So here are the references that I have used in this report. Thank you, and I hope you have learned something from my presentation.